In this episode of Startup Spotlight, you will hear from Preeti Suri, founder and CEO of Adventure, a platform for curated multi-day adventure travel experiences around the world. After 15 years in consulting and investment banking, Preeti left a career to build a startup inspired by her own transformative experiences in the outdoors. She shares how she launched a travel marketplace across 50 countries, navigated COVID, and why human curation still matters in the age of AI. If you're interested in startups, travel, and building mission-driven companies, you'll enjoy this conversation.
Welcome to the Startup to Exit podcast, where we will bring you world-class entrepreneurs and VCs to share their hard-earned success stories and secrets. This podcast has been brought to you by Thai Seattle. Thai is a global nonprofit that focuses on fostering entrepreneurship. Thai Seattle offers a range of programs, including the Go Vertical Startup Curation Weekend, Thai Entrepreneur Institute, and the Thai Seattle Angel Network. We encourage you to become a Thai member so you can gain access to these great programs. To become a member, please visit www.seattle.thai.org.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our next installment of the Startup Spotlight series. Very pleased to welcome today Preeti Suri, who's the CEO and founder of Adventure. Adventure is a marketplace for curated multi-day adventures with vetted local guides. And before Adventure, she spent 15 years as an investment banker. So welcome, Preeti. So good to have you.
Thanks, Sirish. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
That's great. So you spent 15 years as an investment banker, and you decided then to get them into the startup journey. What problem did you find that got you so excited to say, I need to change my career and do a startup?
Yeah, sure. And just to clarify, it was 15 years as a consultant and then as a banker.
Sure.
So I think the problem that I found was there is, it's very hard to find high quality, curated, impactful travel experiences. And I said, I want to solve for that. But that's sort of the problem we're solving with Adventure Tripper. I think it might be helpful to provide a bit of context in terms of how I got to it. Because having successful traditional careers as a banker and a consultant, yes, I had a solid foundation in finance and business strategy. But once my son was born, I wanted to use my energy and talent to have an impact. The time that I was taking away from my baby, I really wanted to do something impactful with my time and energy. And at that point, I knew I wanted to build something of my own. I didn't know what. And on the personal front, I was going through postpartum depression, I was 60 pounds of baby weight. And that was something that outdoors helped me get over and recover from, and which was absolutely transformational for me. And that is when I said these experiences are so transformational, but there are a lot of barriers that people face from experiencing these, whether it is social barriers for people who did not grow up in a culture of outdoors and active sort of travel and adventure, or having the company to do these kind of experiences with, or economic barriers. So I wanted to make these possible for people who held back from taking to the outdoors and taking a more active way of experiencing, different places, which can be very transformational. So that's sort of where it came from. And, as I probed further, I was like, why is it that people don't do this? Is because it's very hard to find and piece together these experiences in remote locations, and to be able to find the right guides, with the kind of credibility you need to be able to deliver these experiences. So I wanted to solve for that and make it possible for people to find such experiences and take them.
Right. So you're saying that basically Google search, which would help you find some of these experiences, was not sufficient, and that you didn't really know what kind of quality you were getting from those experiences. So you felt that providing a site that where you vetted local guides, etc., people would have more confidence. Is that how do you characterize this?
Yeah. So here's another way to put it. So if you take a step back, travel, the travel industry was transformed by when OTAs entered the market, which is online travel agencies like Expedia and Booking. They brought all the airlines, and then they brought all the hotel inventory online. And then you have all the inventory. You can see where you want to fly to and which hotel you want to book. So that was solved for, made easier for people. And then
Right.
came the single day experiences, ticketable experiences platforms like Viator and Get Your Guide. Right. So they solve for that piece of it as well. You can easily go to any city, Paris, New York, London, and pick out the experiences you want to do. And that got solved for. What hasn't been solved for is the prepackaged multi-day tours, right? Or even if it's not prepackaged, a multi-day tours piece is what is not solved for so far. People have attempted it before, and there are a couple of platforms out there which, in my mind, haven't been very successful because they took the same meta search engine approach, which worked for hotels and airlines, where you brought the entire inventory online. But if you show 2,000 trips for, let's say, Nepal or Peru, people do not have the time to understand a 7-day and an 8-day itinerary and sift through 2,000 very different, unique experiences and decide who do I go with and which guide. It doesn't work. What is needed for multi-day, in my mind, is, and this was our thesis, is that you need curation. And curation by experts who know these places really well as to what are the best things to do. And through domain experts, we are a team of mountaineers, bikers, runners. So for active experiences, you not only know what is the right experience, but you also have the skill set to vet the local guiding companies for these real or perceived higher risk involved with these activities. So that's where we said you need curation, and that is very hard to piece together for people, especially, I mean, yes, there are folks, students do DIY and backpacking, but think of senior executives and business professionals. People have no time. There's so much burnout. There's no headspace to do all the research and plan and piece together these things in a remote location. And Google wouldn't surface the small local guiding companies in different countries. The way search engines work, they show you results local to where you're searching from due to geopositioning of search results, and not the results at your destination where you want to go to. That's how search engines worked. Unless, these small little guiding companies or operators knew how to play the SEM game and spend tons of money on marketing. They're good at doing what they do, but not at marketing themselves through SEO and SEM and become discoverable. So that was essentially the problem that we're solving for.
Right. Right. So did you initially focus on specific markets, regions when you launched?
Yeah. So for us, when you talk about market, there's two things. One is destinations, right? And then there is markets in terms of where is our audience. So as a
Right.
market, we have always been focused on the American market, North American market. So we have customers. Yes, of course, we have people from India, Australia, Europe booking every once in a while, but we primarily focus on the North American market, with our clients being 95% of our clients being, residing in the United States, and some in Canada. In terms of destinations, we currently offer trips across 45, 50 countries, almost 45, growing to be 50. And those we started first with which are the destinations which are the most popular that people are seeking to take these active experiences in. And that's how we rolled out the first 5. But then, lo and behold, we launched and the world shut down. So we pivoted to domestic within the first 3 months of launching the company. And then we ran trips only in the 15 Western states of the United States of America. And once people started getting vaccinated, which was about 3 years ago, is when we pivoted back to our original model of a global platform and bringing international destinations. And then we went from 5 countries to now almost 50 countries.
Right.
But that's a function
So,
of where is there demand for, where do people want to go?
so do you actually have you spoken to how many, first of all, how many, such tours are on your site
Yeah.
today?
We have almost 450. We have 450 plus curated trips going on to
Trips.
500.
Okay.
By the end of the year, we'll
Okay.
have about 500 curated experiences across 50
Mhm.
countries.
I see. And you curated that out of 5,000 or, down to 500 or
Yeah, I
uh,
think that's a good
just to get
that's
an
a good
order of
number.
magnitude.
Yeah, just to give you an
Yeah.
idea, like for any particular country, we would start with, let's say, 10 operators, top operators and guiding companies for that destination. And
Mhm.
then, every operator, let's say, has 10 to 50, tours, and at least, 30 to 50 tours. But from that, we nail down 3, work with only 1 or 2, and then have the others as backup. and we only upload 4 to 5 trips of that particular
I
operator.
see.
We've gone from there to now have separate operators for budget and affordable trips, which is where we started, to we're now focusing more on premium and more elevated, more exclusive experiences. So we have a whole different set of operators now who can deliver on those exclusive experiences. So we'll have 2 to 3 suppliers or operators for every destination now, and have 2 to 3 of their trips on the platform, but it goes through a massive selection process.
Right. And so how do you determine, um, obviously you speak to these operators, but how do you determine if they have a really good tour and they have a good experience and so forth?
Yeah, and this is where I think we differ from a lot of the traditional operators, and we're somewhere in between traditional operators and the platform so far. Traditional operators like REI, Backroads would take a couple of years to roll out any new destination because they would send somebody to the destination to vouch the trip, and it takes years to roll out a new destination. Whereas we leverage technology to not just source the initial list, we're also part of a lot of trade bodies, and also, you know, the entire team is mountaineers, bikers, runners from all over the world who have been to all these destinations. So we tap into our networks to find the right suppliers. And then for every category, we have a separate vetting matrix. So for instance, for biking and mountaineering, you need certain certifications. You need, for example, biking, what kind of gear are you using? What are your rescue procedures? But even before we get to that, we scrape the internet for the reviews, for instance, right? So they go through initial online kind of screening, even before we get to speaking to like the top 4 or 5. We go through a lot of online scraping the net for their reviews. They need to have a critical mass of reviews with certain, at least 4.5 on an average, 300 or more reviews kind of, process. So we do first round through just technology, online research, before we get down to speaking with and, understanding their procedures, protocol, and interviewing the owners of the businesses. And they should have been in business at least 10 to 12 years as well.
Got it. So do you feel that you have, how have the initial years gone? Do you feel that you have achieved product market fit and you have a service that is being valued by customers?
Yeah, I think absolutely. Because when people in a short span of, 3 years of running international trips are booking the 6th, 7th trip with us, it is a very strong signal. 40% of our business is repeat and referral
That's great.
business. On the last day of the trip, people book their next trip because they need something to look forward to, because it's more a lifestyle. They train towards and work towards these experiences. So on the last day of a trip, it's now, you wouldn't be surprised if they call you from the airport or the destination the last day saying, this is where I want to go next. So that is a very strong signal for us. And also the repeat and the referral rate is a very strong, signal that there is very clear product market fit. Also, 99% 5-star reviews speak to our vetting and the service, even though we are not the ones delivering the trip on ground, we're still a platform. Being able to boast of that kind of, review speaks to the service levels, and which is what people come to us for, that they can be assured of a transformative experience and a high quality experience with the best possible local guides.
Right, right. And do they book the trip through you, or is it through marketplace in that they have to book ultimately with the
Yeah.
operator?
So we're a marketing and a booking platform unlike any other. So they book on our platform. However, as soon as the booking comes through, it goes through to the supplier. How we differ from typical platforms, and also the other tour operators, and this is again somewhere we're sort of in between, not just building a new platform, but sort of disrupting some of the traditional tour operators, is that we provide post-sales support. Mostly, platforms, if you book something, you hand it over to the guiding company or the hotel or the airline. And this is where our insight was that for multi-day, that is another barrier, because multi-day, it requires a lot of post-sales logistics, preparation, coordination, particularly in case of group trips, which is sort of 95% of our business. And that's where we take accountability, because, we came from a place, so we're a mission-driven company. We want to make these adventures possible for people. And we noticed one of the barriers was people didn't know where to start. People who were coming to us were not people who said, I want to climb Kilimanjaro, I'm looking for a guide. people who came to us were the people who said, I don't think I can climb Kilimanjaro, but I believe that Adventure Tripper can make it happen for us. Because we give them training plans, we give them gear lists. We're there to answer their questions in terms of which boots, which sleeping bag was sleeping pad. And they get that expert guidance, which gives them the confidence to successfully complete that trip. And that's a big difference. We call it fulfillment. We own fulfillment, which is our big, big differentiator compared to any other platform. And that's how we're tackling it slightly differently.
Got it. All right, over to you, Gauri.
Great. Preeti. So we are all in the Pacific Northwest. Interestingly, it's the home of Rick Steves and REI, right? Listening
And
to you.
Expedia.
But, they're a booking agent. But I'm saying from a curated trip and preparing with the gear, these two ring true to me, right? Expedia, I think, has brought together a whole lot of lists. But these two are unique in the sense that now you're offering a service for outdoors, curated, much like Rick Steves offered for Europe, except he does it for churches and palaces, maybe, and nice bridges, but you're offering. Is that limiting or freeing? Meaning limiting as in the audience who are willing to do outdoors versus, hey, I want Four Seasons? Or is it freeing because the Four Seasons crowd will never do this without you?
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's a very, very interesting question. I think to start with, I'm just distracted first by all the names you put out, Expedia, and I put out Expedia, of course, Rick Steves and REI. So I'd like to clarify that we set out to solve for multi-day. We said we will start with a niche of active adventure travel because it's more structured. It's easier to start there. But we're not going to stop there. We're slowly expanding to cultural explorations as well, right? So we want to solve for multi-day, be the largest platform for multi-day experiences, right? Just like you have single-day experiences platform. So that's what we're going after. And so I think, as you mentioned, the thought that came to my mind is we're the right sort of cusp, or when you marry Expedia with, so in my mind, Rick Steves and REI are operators, right? They run their trips, they take the risk, they are the operators. We're kind of in between, where it's curation of Rick Steves and REI, whether it is culture or nature, but we just lead with active, whether it is in cities or in nature, and a platform. So we're sort of the cusp of those two. That's what you get, right? So that's where we are. And in terms of, it is liberating because that's where we started, that it's rustic and in the nature. And that's where we thought was the most underserved market, was at the most affordable price point and the rustic trips. That's where we started. But we learned when people started asking us for active experiences, but when you get back to still the comforts and the luxuries, and that is absolutely possible. And that's where we said even they face the barriers of not having the time to plan these. They want to be in the nature. They want to have these transformative experiences, but they want to still come back to a restful, night of sleep, even after having trekked 13 miles and 3,000 feet of elevation gain. So that's how we expanded to rolling out these premium experiences where you could do Machu Picchu via the Inca Trail, where you're camping alongside and using the trailside bathrooms. But you could also, and which is probably a $1,600 trip, but as a platform, we also have a $7,000-8,000 Machu Picchu trip where you stay in the most luxurious lodges on the Salcantay Trail, where you have hot tubs and massages and gourmet meals prepared by private chefs. And so you have that experience as well while hiking up Machu Picchu. And now we specialize in providing the whole spectrum as of now, but we're focusing more on those sort of more elevated experiences now.
So you uniquely experienced two things in the young, existence of your company, COVID and AI, simultaneously. I mean, it affected you more than others uniquely as a startup, right? Paused everything for a travel company, and AI sort of, at least perceptionally, made everybody feel they can plan a multi-day trip. You can go ask ChatGPT a few questions and it will create. How have you incorporated AI into your business? Or have you? And do people come and say, hey, I found this on AI. This is like the WebMD, when people walked into the doctor, the WebMD told me this, therefore I should have this, right? Do people, because you're the expert, right? That's it. But at the same time, ChatGPT or Perplexity gives out multi-day, detailed trips.
Yeah,
How are you incorporating
absolutely.
that, and where are you taking your company with that?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another great question. And starting with, I think, pandemic, and we already touched upon that. The only thing I'll mention there is that that is the DNA of the company. We adapt, we're very flexible, because that's how, we started. So we take pride in, that's a culture of the company, is to adapt to whatever is thrown at us. We are a team which sees opportunities and challenges. And our attitude is always, if it's a challenge for others, we see an opportunity here. With regards to AI, it's the same thing. Trivia here is that we knew about ChatGPT way before the world did. Our CTO worked on, GPT applications at Microsoft. So we had built tools to upload, let's say, trips on our platform in 15 minutes, to create content for whether it's social media, whether it's, SEO content. We had built these tools long ago and refined them, and then decided which ones we wanted to continue using, which ones we didn't want to. We did this 2.5 years ago, right? And that's how we rolled out 500 trips in 300 we had rolled out, and I remember 18 months when people like G Adventures, Backroads probably took 30 years to roll out 300 trips, right? So we did it in a matter of months because we leveraged technology. It's very interesting that, yes, everybody, and that's how we built a team of 20 people who are destination experts, because that's where our research always started. It helps us bring the people up to speed with these destinations. We have folks in Africa, India selling trips for all over. That's how we train folks in knowledge, which of course is overlaid with sessions with our local guiding companies and the more experienced team members. But customers who come to us, Gauri, are typically not the folks who are DIY. The folks who come to us are the folks who, if they had the time and the headspace, to do it themselves, they're not our typical clients. Our clients are typically the folks who say, we want to do this. Can you sort this out for us? Can you take care of this for us? And again, why, and especially our repeat customers, because we not only know and understand their preferences and the knowledge that we have of what works, what doesn't. Because what you get on ChatGPT is very generic, right? Knowing that in Patagonia, it will, yes, give you the list of experiences, but we have the knowledge of which guiding company is good with what. There are a lot of softer aspects of it. Who can deliver? Where is their availability? What can you do to customize and personalize this experience to you're going with 2 young kids? Yes, it will tell you, with young kids, you can do these exercises, but it cannot tell you on these trails, these are shorter versions. That knowledge and that intel is available with the team. So over and above dealing with those clients who are looking for that personalized expert guidance, it's also understanding their preferences, which we're able to do in addition to the knowledge of those destinations of the various guiding companies, which will probably not even show up in your generative search results. And a lot of the results would show up because that's where when we build a list of first 10, 20, we look at GPT as well. And maybe 3 or 4 of those feature in, where what is on our list as well. And we're now at a stage, fortunately, where we get invited by the ministries of tourisms of different countries, right? Like I'm invited to go to Chile this October. I've been invited by Ecuador, Colombia. They line up all their suppliers. And if they're not on internet, forget about being on generative search, and they might be exceptional in terms of, so that is where I think even more our service will stand out as being able to provide you those really unique experiences which are not overcrowded, because that's what GPT is sending everybody to. You see what I mean? So I think that's where the value is. And there is a slight targeting in the audience as well as to who our audience really is. That is what we're refining as a result of ChatGPT, and that's where the shift towards going after the underserved segment of affordable clients towards more premium, personalized, customized experiences.
So when you started, I'm sure you had a perception of who your competition is. Who is your competition now? Because COVID AI has shifted the landscape dramatically in overall experience and definitely in experience travel. So who is
Yeah.
your competition today? And why
Yeah.
do you think they are competing directly with you?
Yeah, I think that's a very, very interesting question, because when we started, we were viewing our sort of competitive landscape as everybody, right from tour operators, the traditional tour operators. We were like, what are they not able to solve for? To the multi-day platforms, right, which existed. What are they not able to solve for? So we were looking at that entire universe of the REIs and the backroads of the world, but also the Tour Radar and Viator and Get Your Guides of the world. Right now, I feel like we still look at them because they are also trying to evolve and adapt. Yes, the traditional tour operators much slower, so maybe not so much them. But we do watch what are the single day experiences platforms doing, for instance. We also look at some of the more sophisticated, larger tour operators, let's say Intrepid Travel, right, who have the resources to invest in technology, but it's just so much harder for these large companies to adapt. I feel like, yeah, we just keep following who are the new players in travel, whether it is the startups which are coming up, which do social e-commerce, startups that do, enabling trip sales through content creators on, say, using their content and their reels. So social commerce, monetizing through creators. So we always keep an eye out for those different business models as to what is happening in that landscape. And of course, from an AI perspective, Perplexity, for instance, enables commerce. So we definitely keep, our eyes out to see what's happening in that space as well. Or we look at Airbnb, right? It's very hard to pinpoint a particular competitor, but we also look at Airbnbs, again, trying to launch experiences. What are they doing with, experiences, hosted experiences with influencers? We do a lot of that as well. So yeah, we just keep an eye out, but we're very clear about what is our business model, what is our approach, and what we feel is the problem we're solving and what is working for us, while being aware of what are the developments happening around us.
Awesome.
I'm not sure if that answered your
No,
question.
that's awesome. That leads me to that sort of the next question, right? So, given that there's a variety of players you compete with, that is meaning your customers have these choices for the sake of, right? For clearly, they could go to you, they go to others. So, your go to market in a direct to consumer space, you have a clear way to acquire these customers and target them today, right? Maybe you can articulate that a little bit on that. Are there partners who come along, meaning you have your tour operators on the ground who are good at, say, region A, but I want to do, if I'm going to go to Africa, I may want to cover two countries. The tour operator I may deal with may cover only one. They say, no, you go to Adventure Tripper so that you can do, I don't know, Kenya and Tanzania, right? As an example. So is your go-to-market direct to consumer, and if and in the B2B partnership space, what are you? Because it seems like there's competition that you have. Airbnb can compete with you and partner with you. It seems like at the same time.
Yeah, I think that's interesting. Yeah, which is why, I don't pinpoint anybody as a clear competitor, because I don't think anybody's doing these curated, multi-day, transformative, highly curated, curated, highly transformative experiences, which are multi-day, right? With vetted local guides. What Airbnb is doing in my mind is still experiences and more sort of single day experiences with homeowners. And they've tried this a couple of times and failed at it. So don't see them as competitors at all. I think we found our niche, what audience, what kind of experiences. And the way we go to market is in two ways. We're very clear about who our audience is, but how we reach to them is both B2B and B2C. And what we do differently is, unlike a lot of consumer marketplaces, which started with B2C and then ended up B2B after studying a lot of them, right from Expedia to Amazon to Uber, who all became profitable thanks to B2B, because it was very hard to make economics work with B2C model, commission-based model. There was something we thought to learn from them. And we said, we will go B2B first. And then we started partnering with creators, brands, corporates. Our strategy is to have B2B lead to B2C eventually for large scale. So even though we do B2C, I talk about SEO, we invest in it, it's very little. Our strategy is not to pay for ads, is not to, focus too much on SEO. Whatever efforts we put on B2C is all more for long term, because in our mind, our B2B will help us unlock B2C for scale eventually. Not in the next couple of years. It's still going to be a predominantly B2B driven, because we're very profitability, self-sustaining kind of focused business model. So we don't have to rely on external funding being travel startup in the US.
So this is more a question about you. You went from a very successful consulting investment banker background to a startup.
Yeah.
And then along the way, your son was born. So this journey, it seems like there's a personal journey intertwined with this entrepreneurial, journey. Seems like a lot of grit. For our audience who are listening to you, especially women entrepreneurs such as yourself, it's a tricky balance between the needs of all the expectations and needs of everything around you while
Yeah.
leading your team. Can
Yeah.
you share a bit about your journey and what advice you would give to those listening to you to embark on this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's there's a lot in that question. Yes, we have a lot of things we balance, but what I like to always highlight is also that, especially as a South Asian woman, it was never easy. Nothing was ever handed on a platter. You know, in terms of my own personal story, yes, what is more well known is the story of going from banking to a startup due to my personal, postpartum recovery story. But what is behind that is the conditioning I've had since I was a child, growing up in a very, patriarchal society where even when I qualified to be a chartered accountant in my early 20s, I was 21, I did my chartered accountancy in India right after my high school alongside my undergrad. At 18, I was working with accounting firms because we needed to do an internship with accounting firms. So I started working very early, but I remember being the only woman, or one of the only 4 women out of 100 people in PwC,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
I was growing pretty quickly within the firm, but the only female manager in Deloitte, the only woman on board in Deloitte in my mid 20s. So, and nothing ever came easy. You every time had to prove yourself from scratch. I almost did not make it to college because I couldn't get an education loan. Even after having made it to INSEAD for my MBA, we couldn't afford to pay my fees. None of the banks would give me a loan because it was not an American top business school that people knew of and that Indian banks would fund. It was the top international school in Europe, but I would not get a loan. I almost did not make it and had to structure my own loan on the back of a bank guarantee from a public sector bank on the back of a property I had bought when I was 25. So nothing ever came easy. The point I'm trying to make here is that we have been conditioned, right, to find ways, make things happen. And if we have come this far, my advice to other female founders, aspiring entrepreneurs is that we have been conditioned to deal with these challenges. If we've come this far, we can go where we want to go. It's very important to have that conviction and belief in ourselves, regardless of what someone else tells you. And there is no reason to not have that confidence. You've come this far. You've definitely gone through a lot if you're a woman, So I feel like all those challenges in the past and having successfully jumped those hoops and hurdles, which a lot of women do, like, why wouldn't we be able to, jump the rest of them? We're conditioned to deal with all these situations, and which is why you throw a pandemic at me, you throw no funding, and like we'll build an even more sustainable business. So I think that just works in our favor, and or probably it's just having the right attitude of making things work for you, looking at the positives. I think that attitude and that confidence is just so important, which changes everything. It's all the mindset, and
Yeah, that's awesome. That's great to hear. Rick Steves is actually one of my favorite travel guides. I've never taken a trip, but he produces so much content that I felt like I see Europe through his eyes. We are fortunate to have got to know you here and follow you, and hope one of these days Shirish and I can join, even though we need the luxury after we finish the trek.
absolutely, absolutely. And you will be converted for life. I guarantee you that. Let me know where you would like to go, and we will make it happen for you in, experiencing nature, experiencing culture, what have you, but also, going back to the luxuries, of still, of if it feeling like it is a reset, you're recharged and you're re-energized. Absolutely would. It would be a pleasure to, make something work for you.
Great. Thank you, Preeti.
Of course.
Shirish,
All
thanks.
right.
Yeah.
Thank you, Preeti. Great to see your success. I should mention that Preeti was one of the early graduates of the Thai Entrepreneur
Yes.
Institute. So, yeah.
And I met so many people there, I think, because I had just moved from London. I knew nobody. And I think I met a lot of people there who then were very helpful to me in my entrepreneurial journey. So yeah, very grateful for that. And also, Shirish, the introductions you made after that, that's where I met you. And then we had a coffee chat and you were very kind and generous, letting me know who else I should talk to. And so yeah, very, very grateful. Thank you.
Yeah, well, pleasure. And we hope to help you in many ways in the future, and glad you're part of the Thai community. So all the best with Adventure Tripper, and look forward to doing some trips on your platform.
Thank you, Sirish. Thanks,
Thank you.
Gauri. It was a pleasure talking to you both, and look forward to sending you on some trips, transformative journeys.
Yeah.
Great.
Thank you for listening to our podcast from Startup to Exit, brought to you by Thai Seattle. Assisting in production today are Isha Jain and Mini Verma. Please subscribe to our podcast and rate our podcast wherever you listen to them. Hope you enjoyed it.